I like Castle Crashers, believe it or not. That's why I made this video, guys, if you didn't know. I've made 2 videos on Castle Crashers before this, actually. Both are evenly bad. I don't know which one's worse. It's like comparing my channel to Morg's. They're both evenly bad. But, yeah, anyway. So, just skip to the timestamp on screen if you don't want to hear me talk about my personal history with Castle Crashers. But I got this game when I was 6. Yes, you heard me right. 6! My friend in 1st grade told me, hey, there's this game called Battle Block Theater. You should play it. And so I decided, why not? So I got the game and really enjoyed it. I wanted to look into the company, so I looked up their Wikipedia page and found this game called Castle Crashers. I recognized the game, but didn't know where I recognized it from. So I decided, you know what? Why don't I beg my parents for it? So I went and said, please, mother, please, father, please, father. And they finally said yes. And so here we are today. Before I talk about the gameplay and art of Castle Crashers, I want to talk about the company that made it, the Behemoth. The Behemoth started off as a couple kids on Newgrounds, and if you're wondering what Newgrounds is, it's cool math games, but edgier. These people were Dan Paladin and Tom Folt. Tom Folt being the creator of Newgrounds, and Dan Paladin being a talented upcoming artist. Together they made a ton of collaborations on Newgrounds, but the most notable was definitely Alien Hominid, having over 20 million views on Newgrounds today, which is really good. Because they wanted to capitalize on the success, they decided, why don't we make this on consoles? However, they needed a company name to go by, so they created the Behemoth. Alien Hominid HD did pretty well on consoles, and because they had just made a company, they decided that they weren't just gonna make one game and leave it be. They wanted to make quite a few, and so they began working on their next game. That would be Castle Crashers. A lot of times the story of games are what make them. If the games themselves aren't that fun, then all they really have is the story. So how is Castle Crashers' story? Well, it depends. The basic story is honestly really bland. However, everything included, the story of the game is so special because there's nothing quite like it. Hear me out. The basic story of Castle Crashers is the bland damsel in distress story we all know. It's just this evil wizard spider thing who kidnaps a couple princesses. Pretty bland, right? Wrong. A thing you'll have to learn about Castle Crashers is that it's not the basic simple stuff that makes the game. Rather, it's the small details. If I told you the story of Castle Crashers was just a couple princesses getting kidnapped by an evil wizard, you would think the story must be pretty boring, right? Now, let me tell you a longer summary. You're this knight who fights a giant troll who gives birth every second, and then immediately you fight a giant bat and fight a literal giant fish with a cat head, and then you fight frickin' polar bears, and then you fight pirate ninjas, and then you fight a no-joke corn on the cob with a face. That is not even a joke. You fight a corn on the cob with a face. Okay, now that summary, that probably got your interest. It's because the stuff like this is definitely what makes this story worth it. There's so much little stuff and little bosses I could go over that just make this story so creative. It's like they were just thinking out of their head, alright guys, what should we make a boss? I think I have an idea. We should make a Cyclops who is friends with this guy who has lightsabers and has a head that's a cone, and he's at a marriage, and then he dies, and then the Cyclops is really mad, and then he dies in lava, and then when he comes back, you see, a story like that is super creative, and that's why I really enjoy the Castle Crashers story. It's simple, yet at the same time, extremely imaginative. The Castle Crashers art style is synonymous with the game. It goes well with everything. The wacky story, the gameplay, the soundtrack, it really just goes along super well. Considering Dan Paladin had a really long history with Newgrounds, it made sense that it would have this cartoony look. However, honestly, when you compare it to other Flash games, they don't look too similar. You can kind of see the little polish they put to it that changes it from, a Newgrounds game to into an actual professional game. Look at the beta, for example. You see these characters? These characters do not look the greatest. I'm sorry, but it's true. They just look kind of strange, to be honest. You can kind of see what style they were going with the basic shapes, but it really doesn't work. And frankly, when you look at the newer version, you realize how much more polished it is. But at the same time, it's rough enough to where it doesn't lose that Newgrounds feel. And that is really unique. Look at Alien Hominid, for example. Although the game doesn't look bad by any means, in fact, I'd call it a really good-looking game, the game still has a lot of things that, well, make it look not near as polished. It's not bad, but it's kind of rougher, and that's okay. But frankly, Castle Crasher's gameplay and story worked much more with this vibrant style. Alien Hominid HD is more dark, so because of this, I think Castle Crashers having a more vibrant style really stands out. And the backgrounds to the game are pretty neat too. They're not outlined like the rest of the game, which makes them separate and doesn't make them just the same thing. It really makes you see the backgrounds and think about them. And the character designs are super interesting. Like, seriously, look at this polar bear, look at this knights, look at all these knights. Look, they put an uwu face on here. That, I know it's not funny, but it's still neat. Honestly, it's just super unique what they did with this, and honestly, I'm giving it a ton of praise, and I think you should too. There's no game that has such, well, I guess it's really an opinion, but in my opinion, there's no game that has such a neat art style. And because it goes along with anything, the art style is one of the best things about this game, by far. The soundtrack of Castle Crashers is really interesting to me. It's a mix of really bright, vibrant songs with really kind of darker songs. However, they always fit the levels they're on, which is really nice. Like, seriously, these songs fit so well with them. And also, I'm just saying, but these could all be used as rap beats. Like, I'm not even joking. I used to, play this game and rap over the songs and make some terrible lyric stuff, but yeah, they really do work that good. They work super well. However, what's interesting is how so many people worked on them. Like, seriously, you may think maybe 2 or 3 people worked on the whole soundtrack, but it's literally a mystery of half of the songs and who they were made from. Like, I'm not even joking. I looked on the Wikipedia and it just said, made by Will Stamper, ? And the account was terminated, so, I mean, I will really never know. But seriously, it's a super interesting soundtrack and it fits super well with every single level in the game. Great soundtrack. Here's the thing, from all I've said, Castle Crashers very well could just be a Newgrounds cartoon, but it's not, it's a game. And I can safely say the gameplay of this game is really fun and interactive. It's one of the funnest, if not the funnest side-scroller I have ever played. And the funny part is it's really basic at surface level. However, like the story, once you dig deeper, you find the super neat stuff about it. The basic combat of Castle Crashers is really simple. You block enemies with your shield, you hit enemies with your sword, you also hit enemies with your bow. There's also a more advanced technique where you jump up and spam Y at enemies 500 times until they die. However, you're fighting like 10 enemies at once, so, well, how do you do that, And it's pretty simple. You level up. Basically, when you kill enemies, you get XP, and when you get enough XP, you can level up your magic, strength, agility, or defense. Every character has their own individual magic, but I'm sure you already knew that. However, the enemies level up with you, and they get stronger and stronger, so that's when the interesting part comes in. Let's start off with pets. Basically, you can get pets at, this little area. I don't know what to call it, like a pet clinic? I don't know. Pets help you with a lot of things. Some of them breathe fire, I'm pretty sure, and others just give you fruit. Some help you find stuff, and yeah, they're really useful. They can be used to attack enemies, and you can find them along the way on your levels. And by on your levels, I mean on a level. And by on a level, I mean you can find them on almost every level. You can also get swords which change your stats. Some of them double up your agility, while others make your strength better, your magic better, or defense better. Some of them can also negatively affect your defense or strength, or really any of them, which makes it an interesting dynamic. Do you want to have more agility, or do you want to have more magic, or do you want to have more defense, etc.? However, while all this is important, it's not near as important as the stuff you can buy in the shop and get, well, along the way. You can get health potions from the shop, bombs, and sandwiches. They're all pretty self-explanatory, except the sandwiches. You eat the sandwiches to become very buff for like 10 seconds, and you basically just go insane while you're eating it. These are extremely useful in tons of situations, and without them, the game would almost be impossible. However, you also get stuff, well, along the way, such as a boomerang, this thing that unlocks Medusa and is basically useless, and a shovel that digs up treasure. It all comes together when you fight bosses. Let's just say some bosses are easier than others, and some bosses are harder than others. There is 21 bosses in Castle Crashers, starting from this buff guy who I can beat in literally 5 seconds to whatever this is. Once you defeat, well, most of these, you get money, and you get it from a chest, and you save a princess. Hooray, you saved the princess! Once you have the 4 main princesses, you go back home to this little ceremony. Everyone's there, that's so sweet. Including all the people who tried brutally murdering you. You then kiss them. Well, actually, before you kiss, you actually find out who this person is. And, wait, they're a voodoo witch? Yeah, apparently this princess was actually a super ugly voodoo princess thing. Anyway, once you're done, you unlock a character. There are 31 characters in the game. 4 of them used to be DLC, but are now unlockable in Insane Mode. And one of them just kind of exists. Also, there's the poor Conehead who unlocks no one. However, every other character at least unlocks 2. Well, that's not true. There's arena characters. The arenas are pretty simple. Once you get your characters leveled up a ton, you can go in the arenas and just fight people. You fight like maybe like something like 50, I don't know. Almost all of these characters at least unlock 1 more, except the poor Conehead. Overall, the combat of Castle Crashers and the gameplay and everything about it is super amazing, and I love this game to death. Part of it is nostalgia, and the other half is just my genuine love for everything about it. If you haven't played this game, you should definitely check it out. It's on Nintendo Switch, Steam, PlayStation, and Xbox. So if you want to play it, give it a go. Honestly, in my personal opinion, this game is a 9 out of 10. I know that's a really good grade, but it's just super amazing to me and a huge part of my childhood. It's just a great game overall. Okay, please subscribe to Mr. Crazy Comic if you're watching. Please. Bye.
Rap snitches, telling all their business. Sit in the court and be their own star witness. Do you see the perpetrator? Yeah, I'm right here. Get the whole label sent up for years.